Hey guys, what's happening? Carter here. I was just looking at my Boker Plus epicenter, talking about the reports of lock slip and lock rock and things like that, and it kind of inspired me to do a lock rock video. And there won't be any music here. Lock rock is not a new kind of metalcore. It is simply describing when a lock starts to move. Vertically, not horizontally, not side to side, up and down blade play. Now, the thing about lock rock and what I mainly want to speak about is that there's multiple kinds, and some are more dangerous than others, and some are fixable by yourself, and some are not, and they tend to be lumped together. So basically what we have, the two different types of vertical play that you're going to see. One is when the lock bar is basically just not fully engaging the tang. So there's a little bit of a space between where the lock bar is moved over and the tang is. And how you can tell with that is if you grab the blade and shake it up and down, you'll hear it go click, 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 click. Or if you lightly touch it, you'll hear it go click, 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 click. You know, it'll be moving freely. Bang, 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 bang. Now that's the easiest to fix and kind of one of those things that you'll run into pretty much on any lock. And the reason for that, without going into too much detail, is when they set the lock bar strength on the knife, out of the factory or out of the shop, they want to set it so that it fully engages the tang and locks up correctly, but you don't want to bend the thing all the way, you know, over here, because then it would be too hard to disengage. So they try to find the right spot where you're getting a good amount of engagement, but it's not too hard to disengage, like this. Now what happens is as it settles in and as it wears in, this lock bar is going to need to travel out more. And if they haven't bent this over enough to account for that, you're going to get a little microspace and you're going to get a little rattle. So the easy fix for that is simply to take it apart, bend this lock bar over just a little bit more, and you should be good to go. Pretty easy to fix yourself, or you can send it in and have it fixed. So that is not only the most desired form of lock rock that you'd want to see, but it's also, you know, well, it's more desirable because it's the easiest to fix, and it's also the more of a par for the course type lock bar. Now, that's not to say you can't design a knife that won't ever get that. You can. As long as everything is working perfectly, you've got your relief cut to just the right thickness, and it's bent over the right distance. And the key is making sure this isn't too thick, because that way you can actually bend this over far enough that it can fully engage the tang no matter how worn out it is, but still not be hard to disengage. So it can be done correctly so that you never see that problem and it takes care of itself. But you know, getting that right can be a bit tricky, so you will run into that issue occasionally, and it's easy to fix. Now the second thing that gets lumped into lock rock, which is actually technically lock slippage, but a lot of people lump them together. And that is where you're getting full engagement on the tang and the lock bar, but if you apply negative force on the blade, you're actually sliding this lock bar out. And that's usually due to a angle on the tang that is too great. So there's just not enough connection there. And you can do this yourself. I mean, if you take your hands and if you put your right hand at just a slight angle and push straight down, you're not going to shoot your other hand out of the way. You know, it's just going to push it down. But if you angle it a lot and start pushing down, oh, it's going to start wanting to push this out there. It's just the way it is. Now that problem is a lot worse, because depending on how it's done, if there's no flat spot at all, it will fully disengage the lock bar and actually close the knife. If it's a radius tang, it should stop on the earlier flat portion, so you'll just get a little bit of movement, a little bit of travel, and your lock bar will click out, but it won't completely fail. But the big thing is trying to fix that is really difficult. The only way you can really fix that is to kind of band-aid it by putting something like a bigger stop pin, or you know, if your stop pin's right here, putting a bigger stop pin here so that the blade doesn't travel back as far and it basically resets the lock. Or the only other way would be to try to actually grind out the tang to a proper angle, but depending on how it's done, that may not be possible. So something like that definitely needs to go back to the maker or the shop to be replaced or fixed. Not really something most people could attempt to rectify on their own. So that's it, guys. Those are the two type. Technically, lock rock really only describes when you're not getting full travel over on the lock bar and you've got a little bit of space between here and you're actually clicking it back and forth. The other one is actually more of a lock slip issue. But oftentimes they're lumped together as just lock failure or lock rock. But there is distinct differences between the two. So hopefully this was informative to some of you. I know a lot of you guys already know all this. You've dealt with this problem, so on and so forth. But for those that haven't, I figured it was worth a quick video. All right, guys, take it easy. I'm out of here.